Call meeting to order. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business is to approve minutes from the regular meeting and the work session.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve minutes from June 5th, 2023 regular council meeting and June 24th, 2023 work session as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Shooty.
Heart of Hagerstown. Heart of Hagerstown's been pretty quiet this summer, not a lot going on. Our next event that we're going to be having and hosting is a paper shredding day, July 29th. That's going to be in conjunction with WUR board. That will be held out here at Living Tribute Sale Barn on the west edge of town. That event runs from 9 to 12. I do have the flyer here that we can post here in Town Hall. And if anybody else wants a flyer to post or take anywhere, they're more than welcome. Other than that, that's about the agenda for Heart of Hagerstown. That's it.
Does anybody have anything for Gary? Okay. Next is council action, wage and salary ordinance.
Yes, it's up there. So we hired, or I hired,
Is due to a new hire.
yes.
That's why. If you want to look at it, it's last page.
Last page.
They did not
I
black.
think it's the same.
It's highlighted.
Gotcha. There.
Yeah.
It's for the front desk.
Full time.
Yes. And she starts next Monday, the 17th, so.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
You have to suspend.
Suspend, good word.
Oh, suspend the rules.
Make a motion that we suspend the rules of governance to introduce the wage and salary ordinance number 8-2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules so we may introduce and pass wage salary ordinance 8-2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, can I have a motion?
I'll move to adopt wage and salary ordinance number 8/23.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt wage and salary ordinance number 8/2023, effective date July 17th, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Your turn.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah, it's tractor.
Oh, okay. So there was a Kubota tractor for sale, had 400 hours on it, 57 horse tractor, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And the airport had an interest in that tractor because theirs has just, it was going to be more costly to fix what they had.
Yeah, it's getting older and it's hard to find parts. Last year we used up the water pump, it took about a month to find a water pump for it.
So consequently, that wasn't budgeted into their budget all in 1 year. So, and it wasn't going to sit there very long. So my recommendation, what I think we ought to do is, the tractor was $14,000 for the tractor. And they had enough in their budget to pay $7,000. And so what I think the town ought to do is loan the airport the other $7,000 so that they can get it purchased. And then next year when they get their new budget, then that money will come back to the town. And then it'll totally be their mower at that time, it'll be the airport's property mower at that time. that would be, I think it's foolish for them to go borrow the money for that period of time when we have the money. And it's all part of the town anyhow, so that would be my recommendation, and I would make a motion that way as well.
What would this do to your budget? Would this completely wipe out your budget for the rest of the year?
If we use the entire 14,000, yeah.
Well,
But
but that's not the case.
We've got enough to operate, yeah.
You're asking for a $7,000 loan right now, so what would that, I mean, you're gonna have enough operating.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you'll pay back the town what, at the beginning of next
First
year.
year, next year.
Have we seen this tractor?
Yeah, I have. I think Donnie looked at it pretty close. I heard it run.
You guys are good with it?
Oh, it's like it's brand new. And it's even got the right type of tires on it, where you really didn't have high tread tires on the front. So, yeah, I don't think they'll get a tractor like that with 400 hours on it in that nice a shape. I think they'll have a hard time finding that.
Any other discussion or questions?
And then the other thing it does, it gives them the possibility, their current mower will fit on it,
Yeah.
but it's big enough and it has the hydraulics that they're looking at when they had the funds to purchasing a wing mower that goes up and down. And then if they could ever get that, this mower would be big enough to handle that, and it would cut their hours down immensely at mowing the airport if they could get to that point. I don't know they'd cut it in half, but
It'd be pretty close. Our mower deck right now is 7 foot.
yeah, so you'd probably be, you're at least gonna cut it 30–40%. And so over time, it'll probably pay for it, just in, the labor and time.
So the other tractor just,
The clutch went out, and
Okay.
they estimated $2,000 to $3,000 to replace the clutch,
okay.
so.
I think the other tractor, what is it, 1973 or 4 Ford?
It's pretty 83.
It is 93, okay, it's pretty old then.
Yeah, again, they're finding harder and harder to get parts.
Well, it sounds like a good deal to me, so if you guys have heard it, I will second your motion there, Brian.
It's been moved and seconded that we assist airport purchasing a tractor for $14,000, $7,000 from the airport budget, $7,000 is a loan to the airport from the city payable in 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, our town attorney is not here. I can tell you a couple of things he's working on. Personnel handbook. He's gonna confirm about the Pizza King sign. I know he's working on your airport horse club lease and personnel handbook. And Julie, are you clear on the UCR transfers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's been taken care of then. Okay, so liaison reports, Brad, not here, did he talk to you?
No, he did not.
Okay. Now chamber.
And I need to get there, but I didn't get to the meeting this time. But I do have the date. I will make August happen. Or I'm not too late.
You haven't had a meeting or you have?
We did.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that information. So Park and Recreation Board, the new lights are up that illuminate the walkway. If you haven't had a chance to go out there and look at them, they look very nice.
They look nice.
Just kind of brings a nice look to the park. There is an issue that they are currently having with people illegally dumping their trash or waste into one of the park's trash cans down at the bottom of the hill. Just a reminder that that is town property, and there are cameras there, so if you're dumping there, you will be seen. And I do know that they are taking that very seriously right now. So, but outside of that, Mike did mention a few more trees we're going to have to take down because they're dying out there. I don't know if you've been out lately, but it doesn't seem like there's very many trees left. But they are looking at possibly replanting some at some point. But outside of that, that's all I got going on.
Okay.
Real quickly on the park dumping, we've been posting the pictures of the people doing it on our Facebook page, and we've identified every one of them. Basically what we've been doing is just reminding them that it's not to be done, but they're getting embarrassed by being doing it. So that word is definitely getting out that they're taking pictures of people doing it. The last one, we had somebody try to put a mask on when they did it, but we were able to identify them by the car. So I think slowly that'll should start to drop a little bit as that word continues to get out. Since the last meeting, I've had 5 cars that I've been able to get removed from people's property. Through letters and visits. We haven't actually had to, issue any type of violations, towing or anything that I've worked with the homeowners and we've got those removed. Same with several trailers out of the yard. Got the camper out of the yard on Main Street. And then I think at some point there was some mention with the council about the abandoned house at 301 South Perry. It's been sitting there for several years, and it's not only is it, an eyesore, it's probably dangerous, but that is kind of outside of my area to be able to address it. I have addressed the stuff in the yard and some junk stuff down there, but I don't know if that's Bob or you or the council or what, but need to look at something in the future about removing that property. From what I understand, the people next door bought it. They want to keep the lot, but they don't want to pay the money to have the house demolished, so that's why it's been sitting there. But with each month going by, it's getting in worse and worse shape. And it's also become a haven for our stray cats in town. I mean, every time you go by, there's dozens and dozens of them in and out of that property there. So
If someone buys a property like that and their intent is to just let it go until the government comes along and pays to tear it down, we need to start issuing ordinances, violations for that are applicable, and put teeth to them. Because that is crazy. If their expectation is for us to tear that house down for them so they can have that lot, that's absurd.
I know who owns that, and I don't think that's their expectation. I know the fire department's used it a couple of times for training, and I think financially, they're not able to tear it down.
So then we just leave it there without any...
No, I mean, I understand it needs to come down,
Yeah, it needs to come
but I don't
down.
think they're doing it just to leave it there and to have somebody else tear it down for them.
Can you use it as a training and burn it down?
Too close to other houses.
Too close,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't they have a asbestos issue there as well? And
Yeah,
it's got a
that's
couple things going on
So
there.
that would be an ordinance violation that the building commissioner would have to,
Really, you
We
can
probably ought to start a process for being an unsafe building, and then
unsafe building?
we can tear it down, but we have a lien against,
Yeah, we need to at that point.
we own the lot.
Yeah, it's got those asbestos slate tiles and it's not for siding. That's gonna be.
So it might be something that we probably should approach the homeowner about, or the property owner, I guess. But
But more than anything, I kind of just wanted to get it back out there and in everybody's, minds again, that we're not just forgetting about it. Because that was an area that I was working on last week with some other issues, and so I spent some time down there, and like I said, that's just a bad area right there with that. Next on there, 4th of July, we didn't we didn't have any issues the fireworks related. It was a very good show, very good turnout. The vendor's not very easy to work with. Just some side stuff. This was 11 straight years. We always have like a public safety cookout down there. We feed, I do a big cookout. We feed all the people volunteering working. We asked for just one little area at the back that we could get our vehicles in and out. So when the show was almost over, we could get out to our traffic points to flow out. He wouldn't refuse to accommodate. Basically, he said he's not the old guy and he'll do it his way. So that's probably the end of our cookout and stuff down there moving forward, because it caused probably a 45-minute delay in getting the traffic out because we couldn't get to our points because we got stuck in the traffic. So, but otherwise it was a good event. I'll get our road closure for the Jubilee Parade submitted this week so I can get NDOT approval for that. The new owner, with the assistance of Jeremy Jennings, reached out to me. The Rendezvous is planning on doing their beer garden again this year on Jubilee. They're requesting the same as they have in years before to close that corner there, the L shape, for Friday night before it'll be open back up for the parade, so we can have the traffic route through there. And then after the parade's over, they'll shut it back down throughout Saturday, and then everything will be cleaned up and open back out Sunday morning. I advised him, as usual, they're going to have to, prior to the event, provide a copy of the permit that they've got through the state for that. But that's the only organization or business that's reached out about anything out of the ordinary for Jubilee Day at this point. And the last thing, HPD's having a golf tournament on Sunday, September 10th out of Hartley Hills. It's kind of a fundraiser for some stuff we want to do outside of our budget. So far we're getting real good feedback from that, from not only businesses sponsoring holes, etc., but we expect to fill our 16-team capacity for that. So that I think is going to be a good event, and if it is successful, we'll probably try to look at making that an annual golf tournament. Other than that, that's all I have.
On the SROs, is that kind of tied up, because school starts in a month?
Yes, I've been back and forth with Emily Schaefer on that. The last I was told was the school board was okay with the raise part, okay with allowing the SRO to get fuel at their fueling station. The only pushback they had was they didn't want to contribute any to the vehicle maintenance. The oil changes if something broke down. My thought is we're going to get 2 out of the 3, so we'll work on the next contract. I'm just kind of waiting to hear back as far as if their attorney's got that done or not. If I haven't heard something soon, my plan is to be at the next school board meeting so that we can at least get some kind of a notification where we're at on that, because like you said, the school is getting ready to start back, but they're happy with the program. They want to keep it all up. It was just working out a couple of little details, so I expect we'll get that done before school, or at least I'll get something in writing, and then we can finish out the contract on that.
Okay, thanks. Hey. Brett?
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot to tell, but what the main thing for us, there's a meeting set up tomorrow with Chris and the people from Autocar to go over some things that Chris is working out with them, and I'm having Teresa and them from the EDC to come and meet with them. I'm not going to be able to be there, but, or not tomorrow, it's Wednesday. So I don't know for sure if they're going to be able to help a lot, but they'll see what they can do and help. On the other things, we approved a lot of money today for, that meeting was today. In fact, I just came from it, but approved $250,000 out of the edit grant for the Liberation Labs, which I think I mentioned, that's a facility over by Buffalo. It's a food product processing plant that's going to end up with 30 jobs or thereabouts that are over $25 an hour. So that's a done deal, and it won't be up and operable until probably late in '24.
Is that wages benefits at 25 an hour or just wages?
I don't know that they split that out, and it might have been more than 25 because there's 2 or 3 different deals that we're working on.
I was just curious.
I believe that was in here, but I think they didn't say it was. I can tell you later though, I'll get the details. We also approved $5,000 more for them to work on the Home and Wayne project, which is a facility and a website to help draw businesses and people to Wayne County. Another $12,500 for this company called Tracy and Associates, and they'll come in and for the county, and they do a study on what the rents for housing is, not just multi-family homes in Richmond area, but I did find out they're definitely going to be, their study will be for single-family homes for like our thoughts of having a development here, and it's not just going to be beneficial to Richmond, it can benefit us too. And basically that's for the study will be able to tell the people who, the developers, yes, this is what we need, yes, there's this much need for multifamily, single family, this is the pricing of the houses, the pricing of the rental potential, so that they just don't come in blindsided. You got to have that information for people to, developers to come in and do their thing. So I think that's everything that would pertain to things that we would want to know here. So if you've got any questions in detail on that, call me, and I will also send these minutes to you in an email like I normally do, and you'll see all that info.
Works well when you do that.
I'm sorry?
I said it works well when you do that.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys read that or not. Some of it's pretty boring, some of it's important.
Okay. June was a busy month, probably one of the busiest one we've had for quite a while. Had a total of 22 calls for the month. I did break them down for you in my report. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. I know that the last meeting we tabled that, the planning grant. I've been talking to a couple builders to kind of get a off-the-wall guess on what something would cost to add on or remodel or build new. Still working on that. I don't think we'll meet the August deadline, I guess. So, and it's no big deal. We continue to work on it. Hopefully down the road we can get that done. Our apparatus we have, 6.6 is it's able to work. It's able to use, but we're still having an air leak in it somewhere. We're trying to find it, and we got a packing the seal and the packing's leaking in the pump, which isn't bad. So we're gonna have to get somebody to come in and replace that. Of course, this truck's over 20 years old. Having problems getting the mechanics there because they are very busy, they're swamped with other, and one issue that they're finding is no help. Nobody wants to work on this stuff anymore. So I don't know what we're gonna do in the future when guys don't go to school to learn how to work on these trucks, so, because they're definitely needed. The squad, it's operational still. Radios finally came in, so all that equipment's done. It's being programmed right now. We haven't got it installed yet, but as soon as it gets, he's done programming, we'll get it installed. We had to replace the AC in the radio room. It was over 10 years old, and it just went out on it. It just wasn't cooling like it should. So, and I know there's one thing here that we're gonna start looking at replacing our pagers that we have. They're kind of old. Motorola's a good pager, but we found one from Tech Electronics that's just as good. It's a little bit cheaper. And if we have to send it in for repairs, instead of going back to Japan to get repaired or wherever, they go to Tennessee. So the turnaround time is very quick on those if we have to get them repaired. So we'll slowly start getting those replaced. Membership, I did let a guy go. He just wasn't communicating with us, wasn't showing up. We thought he was going to be a good one. We brought him in on a temporary probationary period, but he just didn't work out. So I did turn my budget in to Julie and gave you guys a copy of it. So and on the fireworks, I agree with Chief here. They probably the largest crowd I've ever seen down there. I thought at one time I talked to people from Legion, and I thought we were going to have to shut it down so people wouldn't come in, and we were running out to put them. We didn't have any. That was the bad thing. We've done it in the past. Fire departments always help park these people, but this year there's so many coming in, we just did not get a chance to park them like they should, and people were parked everywhere. And but it took us, I think I got home at 1:30 that morning after everything was cleaned up, and so but it was a good show. You're a chief. We always in the past, that road has been left open all the way back there for emergency purposes, but it was blocked this year. So we're going to have to get with the vendor, and I don't care if he does it his way or not, that's a safety issue for us, and he's going to have to work with us on that back there. So, but it went pretty good. It was a good show, uneventful. I know we have a lot of people down there. I stayed up in town in case we had an emergency up here. The one thing that really hampered stuff after was it was humid weather, no wind, and the smoke held to the ground. And it was when the people were leaving, I mean, it was like you were driving through thick fog and you couldn't even see to drive through it. So, but it was a good show, and I know we were directing traffic coming out of there, helping direct traffic. You know, a lot of people thanked us for what we do. Of course, we had the naysayers there that wanted to complain about something, so like usual. But I do appreciate the airport board for letting Legion use that. I know I went down to the airport a couple of days before that, and it's really looking good down there. You guys are doing a great job taking care of that place. So a lot better than what it has been in the past. So that's all I got.
I've heard vendor twice. Can I have a name of a vendor?
Scaretti.
The fireworks vendor?
Yes, Scaretti.
but can I just clarify a little bit what I had said? The 30 new jobs is actually for Project Thomas, at $25 an hour. That the other deal that we approved the $250,000 for was for the Liberation Labs, and they're projecting 45 jobs starting in 2024 at $35 an hour. And it does stipulate excluding benefits or bonuses in that $35 an hour. And again, that won't start till late in 24.
Airport.
I had this whole spiel about, we need money for a tractor.
Sorry.
No, that's great, I appreciate it, I really do. That's a big load off of our shoulders. Fireworks, they went off great. Good turnout. The only comment is, every year we close the runway so that, people get out there, they do even though they're not supposed to. And every year we're having to close it earlier and earlier because they just walk through that tape and just ignore it. So next year, another thing with that is they set off their fireworks out there and they leave the debris. If we can, put up signs or something next year, please clean up after yourself, just a little reminder, I think it'll help out. Because you see a lot of kids with sparklers run out there, they're metal sticks, and they run back with their hands empty. So we have these metal sticks all over the runway. We don't know where they're at. It just becomes a hazard for everything. That's all I have about the fireworks, so otherwise it was great.
Anything from Mike?
Flying next week. The flying next week.
Oh,
the
yes,
18th?
it's what, when, Tuesday?
Tuesday the 18th. Doors open at 2 o'clock. Most stuff I think starts about 6. Optimist set up, I believe, 3 food vendors. I think we're going to have a pretty good turnout, as long as the weather cooperates.
Only thing, Rick, question for you, is there going to be a helicopter this year?
Pardon?
Is there going to be a helicopter this year?
I was told that they didn't want them anymore, so
Okay.
I've not made contact with anybody.
Okay.
Denny's just got that.
Yeah, I'm sure they would come if they were asked, but they love doing it. It's a good PR move.
Yeah.
And they don't charge anything. So, it's usually Lifeline or Staff Flight comes in.
That's all I have, thank you.
Planning.
We didn't have a meeting. We did kind of review and bring them updated on the eclipse that's coming forward, just kind of update them on that. Seemed like there was something else we majorly talked about for a period of time, but I can't remember what it
We had
was.
a very short meeting.
Oh, we did? Okay.
I want to guess comprehensive plan. You
No.
guys always talk about that.
No, we did not talk about the comprehensive plan. We did not. So I guess that's all I got to report. And
The fly-in is the same day that we had planned. Should we cancel, or you think everything will be done by then?
oh, it starts at 6. Planning's at 7.
7.
And I just reach out to Chris and let him decide. Chris will know what that is.
Yeah, we've already covered a lot of the items on my report here, but I'll just kind of jump around. We do have smoke testing going on our, should say, sewage rather than storm sewage. And so if anyone sees smoke coming out of someone's eaves troughs or out of the manhole covers, it's not a fire or anything, it's just smoke testing going on. We have had some residents lateral some issues down on Walnut Street and Pearl Street. Communications line, we think it was a Frontier line, had been drilled through their lateral underground, which was causing issues with their sewage backing up. So that was the residents' lateral, but I'm sure we'll probably, be involved somehow with it being the Frontier line or a communication line that was not in the right location. As far as our water department goes, Luke has passed his water operator's test and he's working on taking the second test right now. Electric department, we did get the new bucket truck purchased for tree trimming. something that we just need to touch base on at some point. I don't know that it needs to be denied, but if we want to do a solar project, we need to kind of get a meeting set back up with AEP on that if we were going to do that. Streets Department, the round 2 for the 2023 Community Crossings Grant is due at the end of this month. Been working on that. Parts of each of those 3 streets there, West North Market Street, South Elm, from Clay to Teeter Street, and then if the funds are available, Paul R. Folk Drive as well. I know that our funds for 2023, Julie, are probably a little low right now, aren't they, for streets? So, and then I have received some quotes on a cracked steel pot machine. They're running $50,000 to $60,000 each for the machine. In the past, we have rented those for a month or 2 in the summer, and that's $5,000 or $6,000 plus the material. So I don't know if you want me to continue renting them every year. It would be really handy if we did have one here on hand, because what happens so much of the time is the employees, if it's raining, we can't use it. If the employees are working on something else, we can't use it. It's just kind of hit and miss when we can use it. And so even when we're renting it, it seems like might be setting for a third or half the time. So that's just something to think about. I don't know that we need to.
Is this something we could farm out as well? That if we buy this machine, is it something that we could let some of our neighboring communities use? For there was something that was brought up about another one of our in the past.
Yeah, we could, and I know we have done street sweeping for other communities in the past, so it's something that we could probably do. I don't think we would want to use our own laborers for that, but we could train and probably rent that out to other communities.
Right. I mean, I think that's just another selling point that we, if there is a need out there for, whether it be, economy, grants for, whatever. I don't know, does Cambridge City have their own?
I'm not sure on that either. I don't believe so. For the most part, our streets are in really good shape, but we are getting issues like if you look at North Market Street, and for whatever reason, that one seems to have grass that pops up in it every couple of years, and this is a way that we could prevent that and get a couple more years out of the street.
I just know that, talking with the president over there at Greens Fork, he's mentioned in the past about doing some of a co-op with the town if we were able to get a machine like that. So
I think what I might do, and since what he did is he sent me 7 or 8 different machines. I've not really looked at any of them in particular, but it might be a good idea if I narrow it down to 2 or 3 and then bring that to the next council meeting with actual quotes for $52,500 or that kind of thing. Because it is a specialized piece of equipment, so it's not like it's something that we're going to be able to put a bid out for and have quotes from.
And you see every year we're spending about $5,000 on rental.
$5,000 to $6,000 on all of it.
Okay.
Are we going to rent one this year? Because you probably won't be able to get one in soon enough to. You need
Probably
to do that.
will have to.
So you got to do that basically in July, August, and September.
Correct. There's only about 4 months when you can do it. Yeah. I'll work on that some more. We do have a new application for an edit grant that's been turned in. We've had lots of questions and interest pertaining to the solar eclipse, which is April 8th of 2024. And I just did a speech on it tonight before I came to this meeting, actually. I attended the Hagerstown, Maryland. We had our 10th anniversary of our sister cities, and it was had a really enjoyable time while I was there. Mike Kiefer and Cindy showed our group a good time. We visited the new airport museum, which is up on the north side of Hagerstown, Maryland. Very neat. They actually published a book. It's called Hagerstown During World War II Effort, and it covers a lot of there's an airplane manufacturer on the north side of Hagerstown, located adjacent to their airport, and it's now being turned into a museum. That factory is. So if you're over in Hagerstown, Maryland, that's a must-see. Also saw Fort Frederick, visited Brooks House, which is a drug treatment center out there. Really interesting project. Also toured the Maryland Symphony Orchestra building in downtown Hagerstown that just added on a huge multi-million-dollar addition to the front, and it was incredible, really neat. Another must-see if you're ever out that way. We had the 10th anniversary party. We got several certificates from all their different councils and their chamber of commerce and their senators and delegates were there. It was a pretty neat deal. And while we were there, they announced that they are naming a one-way street after Ralph Teeter, the inventor here in Hagerstown. So Ralph Teeter Alley, it's on Maryland Street, and it is right next to Mike Kiefer's house. So,
Imagine that.
imagine that, yeah.
Imagine.
With that said, it is the 10th year anniversary, and they are coming here when?
In August during Jubilee Days. And it's supposed to be their Mayor Martinez and Mike Kiefer coming out.
I know Richmond is doing a lot to entertain them, but I'm wondering, one time when we had a big delegate here, we had a meal with all of us present at William Red's.
I thought it was at Gallows.
We've done Gallows, and we did when Ed and Robin had their restaurant over there in the Sidewalk Cafe. I think we've done those two places. I don't know if we've done more.
We did the country club one time.
We did the country club as well.
Got a breakfast out there, or
Like a breakfast.
brunch or something.
I'm just thinking if we should have some things made up to present to their delegate for here for the 10-year anniversary, and I mean, you need to show it both ways, you know. And so, when are they coming?
During Jubilee Days, so it would be the third weekend of August.
So if we want to,
Get down to it, yeah.
yeah, if we need to do something, if you think we should, you know, whether it be plaques or something, we need to let Chris and Becky know we want to do that, and we need to get something
And
planned.
I think we need to arrange something for them in the parade too. I don't know if that's
I agree.
riding in a fire truck or in a convertible or what, but I think we need to
I agree.
have in there some
I
way.
bet they don't have a lot of Amish there. There we go.
Believe it or not, they
Oh,
do,
do
but
they
it's kind
do?
of out in the surrounding areas.
Daggone it.
Yeah.
We can put them in a horse and buggy.
Yeah.
But I do think it is 10 years, and they have done a lot
Mhm.
as far as people coming out there. And I'm telling you, if you're going to be anywhere close to there, you need to stop by and let Mike know. And they treat you like, I mean, unbelievable how they treat you out there. But I think we need to do something where it's not a
Well,
level,
dinner sounds good.
and look at maybe what they presented us, and maybe we need to do the.
I'll try to get in contact with our Chamber of Commerce and with our county council, and obviously use the town council and commissioners possibly, see what we can get put together for them.
So do you know the exact day they're coming? Are they coming Thursday or Friday?
They're coming on Wednesday,
Wednesday.
and they
okay.
plan on leaving, they're planning on arriving Wednesday evening and leaving the following Tuesday, so they're planning on being here for almost a week.
So we have a lot,
It'll be okay.
okay. So we'll work on that.
Yes. Do you have anything else, Chris?
I don't, that's all I have.
Julie?
Yes. I'm just working on the 2024 budget right now. That's all.
How's it going?
I'm trying to get there, it's getting there. Yes.
I know it's hard.
Well, you don't have people here, and then you have to do their job. It's just, I'm getting there.
They'll be done, what, next week?
It starts next week. Yes, Courtney.
Oh, Chris, one more thing. Have you heard back from AES? I mean, Vince,
AEP?
AEP.
I have not
AES.
talked to him since our last meeting. I'll talk to him here in the next couple of days.
Okay.
So last month you reported that we were meeting with Fred Stockberger about building commissioner. John, how'd that meeting go?
We did not, he did not have time to meet with us. I reached out to him, and he delayed his retirement, and his work had him traveling, and he was just gone a lot.
And he's the only one that has,
It showed it.
We had 5 or 6 people that actually picked up resumes, but of those, he was the only one that had any kind of a follow through with it. I'm
There's,
sorry.
you know, there's several times we talk about things we skip over and we move on, and one of them is always the solar project.
Mhm.
We keep beating that like a dead horse around here, and we also keep talking about finding ground to annex. And if we're gonna have a solar project, you can't put it on ground that you're thinking about annexing. I mean, there's a lot of conversation about that. We've been talking about that for years. And we just don't seem to have a place for it. And it just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. And then we also talk about annexation of ground and then possibly annexation of like the Tidewater area again. It keeps coming up. I'm having people talking about that all the time.
Same here.
Those wells are going bad, the septics are going bad, the property values are deteriorating. We've got to find a way to,
They have to ask to be annexed. We can't.
do those residents know that? I mean, we cannot, you're telling me that the town cannot go, we want to annex this ground?
Not very easily.
If we don't get if they.
So if the town doesn't send a proposed route, we would like to annex this and start a conversation with them. How are they even going to know that?
Right.
There's been a couple out there that we've had a conversation with, but if they can get 50% of the residents to agree, then it's very easy. If we have to annex, we have to get a whole lot higher percentage,
Okay.
and that would
I think
make-
those conversations need to continue or find a way, because that is going to deteriorate really quick if it happens. There's properties out there that aren't passing inspections and they can't sell. They can't get loans on the property because the septics aren't passing. Banks aren't going to loan money. And the next thing you know, you're going to have a community or a section of houses.
So I agree with you, we keep kicking this down, the can down the road. Why don't we have a meeting where it's a public meeting, but we invite the residents from the Tidewater area to come and talk about annexation? And we'll find out very quickly if they are in favor of it or if they're not.
We've also got, keep talking about South Washington Street to the airport. We talk about that a lot. But I'm not saying, we just need to think about some of these things. And the solar project is what started me thinking about this. We talk about this every couple of months. We need to, we're doing it or not, and we just need, I don't know, vote on it, move on down the road, whatever the case may be. And these whole things with the quality of life and the city ordinances, we talk about this at every meeting. Keith is beating his head against the ground on some of this stuff. It's not his responsibility to talk about building codes and stuff, and yet we have properties. If you drive around this city, and you drive and you look, they are deteriorating. And I cannot, and I don't know the city codes, but I cannot believe there's not city ordinances against or prohibiting. He does it the nice way. I say send him a fine. And he does what he wants to do with what he's under his umbrella. But these properties are driving the property values down of the residents that surround them. And if we don't take some sort of stand against that, we've talked about that house on the south side of town numerous times. There's another one we talk about on the south side on numerous times. We need to do something about it. And if we don't have ordinances against it, we need to look at getting those ordinances, and it shouldn't take us 2 dang years to do it, like we did with the fence ordinance.
I really believe you probably have an ordinance in place for the one house that was talked about.
We probably do. I don't want to speak and say that we do, because I don't know. I'm just saying if we've got those, then those things need to be used. Use what's in the toolbox. If the tools aren't in there, let's legislate. This legislative body needs to put the tools in that box for people to use. And it should not take us 2 years to do it. Because we are rapidly deteriorating some of these properties. I look on the south side of town, somebody's got a camper that the tongue practically sticks out on the, it's not even a camper, it's like a mobile building or something.
Pearl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some kid rides down through there on a tricycle, it's gonna take its head off. And it's been sitting there for years.
That was addressed, but somehow.
It's not been addressed because it's still sitting there.
No, I think they figured out a way that it could fit into the ordinance.
Well, then we need to start looking at ways to make it not fit. Because I'm telling you that some of the stuff that I'm seeing when you just walk and you ride around this town, it's gonna catch up to us. And it's gonna drive your property values down. We talk about attracting people in here for housing. You're not gonna do that when you drive through town and look at this.
You know, with that being said too, as the town is looking at the new building commissioner position, et cetera, might be worth looking at, like I believe Centerville does, where that position also has a code enforcement. So the one person does all that, to where that's their full-time position. You know, I feel like they would probably be able to address that and stay on top of some of that stuff a lot easier, you know, more easily done than the way it's being done now. You know, some of the stuff I do is kind of, when I get a chance, I address this, I act on a complaint, etc. To where if we had somebody that was kind of their full focus.
Some of these targeted properties, we've got a fire department, we've got a police department, we've got a city code. It's a shotgun approach. If that is a problematic property and it's been addressed, we've talked about it here, then it should be all hands on deck. Is there a fire issue? Is there a law enforcement issue? Is there a code issue? And start putting it to it. Because if not, it's the broken window theory. You've heard about it. It just spreads. If you don't fix the broken window, it just keeps going. It's just something that, you know, we're taking notes, like they keep notes, and these are all things that just keep coming up on my notes after meeting that we talk about. And I think that we should really look at these things hard, because they are things that get brought up to me in conversation in town, and then when somebody does, I drive around or walk around town and look and see, and it's amazing the stuff that we see that I just can't believe we don't have ordinances that prohibit that. So that's just, you know, there's only one other thing we'll talk about, that's the solar eclipse. Since the last meeting, when we started laying a lot of this stuff on Chris to do, I didn't think that was quite right, and I spoke to Gary about it down at the hardware store one day, and Gary and I have agreed to co-chair that for Hagerstown, and we are already in the process. We're having our third meeting on Wednesday locally, and we're meeting, and we've got Chris on board as one of our major stakeholders involved with this, but we are moving rapidly into putting a plan together, and I feel comfortable in saying probably the next meeting we should have a decent update of where we're at and where we're headed. It's going to be a pretty big event, but we think, you know, Chris will be our person that we operate through as far as the money and
Are you talking about the eclipse?
the
Yes.
eclipse.
Oh, I thought you were
Yes.
talking about the solar project.
No, solar eclipse.
Okay.
Solar eclipse. And so with that, you know, it's not going to be the Donnie and Gary show at all. It's we just feel like that we need to move on this, and if we have a 15-person committee, it takes a lot longer to get things done, but everything will be transparent on the table, operating through Chris. We'll be discussing all the updates here openly.
I think the main things we're looking at are food vendors, entertainment, you know, and then we need to also address public safety, sanitation.
Right,
So those
so
are the main
and
things. Yeah.
that's right on our list that we talked
Yeah.
about on this. So we'll be bringing Rick and Keith in on those meetings.
Mhm.
A lot, so, but this has the potential to be really good for us, so, and with the allocation of the money and stuff like that, I think we're ready to make this happen. So,
Are you planning on attending the meeting next Wednesday?
probably not. I think he is, so he can go represent.
No, he is, I am, Rick and Keith are you?
That's
Are you
enough.
able to go?
I think that's enough.
Most of the time, side in on.
You already, I know, that's what I was gonna say, you've already have tourism, yeah.
I think that with Gary and I, at least in general conversation, is that we're gonna be using Chris a lot for the focal point on stuff for the town and what we need from the town. And if he's gonna go to those meetings, and I'm not gonna feel obligated to go, Gary may go, but
Yeah.
we can work through Chris on that.
I just need the RSVP.
Yeah, I saw that, so I didn't say I was going. I mean, that's it, that's all. I just wanted to make some points that it just keeps meeting after meeting, my notes just weren't right.
So to go back to your solar project, we do have a place we can make a recommendation on.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, where's that at?
That would be the cemetery.
Okay. It's, okay.
I mean, it's, we own it.
Then what do we have to do to move that project forward?
All we gotta do, tell Vance to look at it and see if it's something that they're
It's
interested
still
in.
viable.
Was it viable at one time? Is that-
Yeah, well,
Yes.
the neighbors were all opposed to it though, across the
Yeah,
street, that was
that's-
the main thing.
I think that's when I first came on town council, it was not long ago.
Yeah, we had a public meeting that there was a couple of neighbors that came to the meeting in oppositions to it.
So the importance for this town to sponsor a solar project is what?
To help us eliminate the extra capacity, and now what do they call that thing that was so high?
The MISO charge.
The MISO charge.
This solar field will do that.
It
And
would
how
be-
much will it do that?
It would reduce it by, not quite a quarter, but probably about 20%. And that's you know, as we know, that's a variable that can fluctuate greatly. So, yeah.
So if it's when you was paying a $30,000 a month MISO fee, 20% of 30,000 each month is a pretty big number. Now the MISO figure has come down. So now, I mean, you can't absolutely say this is what it's going to save us, or this is the, because nobody can tell us what the MISO is going to be, because now they've done that. Is it quarterly?
It's a quarterly auction now.
Now it's a
isn't it?
quarterly
An
auction.
Annual auction.
If we're doing that in an area where it could potentially affect the property values of the people that have homes down there, is that what we need to do? And I think that was discussed when we talked about that in an open meeting. That is our spot, but is it detrimental to?
I don't think, I think solar fields are getting to be so common that they're not,
Got a hayfield out there about close to your house we can put something in?
no, that's it. That's your only place you've got.
Would you want them in your backyard?
Didn't they look
I've
at
got the distribution center.
didn't they look at the high school for a while, then they determined that the high school didn't want it?
It's too far,
Too far,
too
we
far from
can't.
transmission
Okay.
lines.
Cost us, I mean, that's far enough out there.
That's about the end of it.
I mean, that, basically, Donnie, we've looked at everything there is to look at that we own. That,
Only option would be buying additional property, which that's maybe not a bad option either, though, really. You
Then
know.
we talk about buying additional property to annex, put housing in. So if we're gonna buy additional property to put a solar field in, would it be advantageous to maybe look at that for development versus throwing a solar
I think
field?
both of this, or even both, you know,
Or
possibly.
do we accept the fact that we are so limited in the spots that we can put a solar field that we just go, this isn't for Hagerstown, move past it?
that's,
I mean, that's just conversation that we have over and over again, and we're not getting anywhere with it, so it's just, we need to make a decision. Either we're going to do this and potentially save $15,000, $20,000, whatever it is, 10, 20, 30%, no one has a direct answer on what the percentage is, and what that number is, because it fluctuates so bad. And do you really want to upset and move past, move on? Is it more beneficial, risk versus reward, I guess, is what we look at. And if that's our only spot, then
you have that at the airport, and I don't think that the airport's gonna be, it's got its issues at the airport. You say you don't like it at the airport.
Why don't you like it at the airport?
I thought they couldn't do it because of the,
There's a lot of trees around.
yeah.
And, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it needs to be a work session discussion, but these are just things that we need. That I just go through my notes after the meeting, and these are the same things that I have on my notes. It just seems like every other meeting we're talking about this stuff.
Chris, am I not wrong? Probably the airport and the cemetery is the only two places.
I mean, as far as places that we own,
We
yeah,
own.
or that have, they are town, Hagerstown property, but.
I remember that last time, that were the two places.
Yeah, and the trouble of it is, we looked at if we lease property, but then that takes the economics out of it, because now you're paying the lease. So the money that you would save on your capacity in the MISO, you're just paying it out to the landowner for the lease. So you're just in the same spot, you don't gain anything. So so there's not any benefit to leasing ground. And the only two properties that we own that would even make any sense are those two that we talked about. Well, it's the only two properties we got, period, that we can put it on. That's just it. So, I mean,
So is that, are we gonna move forward with putting it at the cemetery, or are we just gonna abandon it?
Well, do you want to have a special meeting?
I don't know, I'm asking, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when we
Is that
meet
something
with-
we need to do?
when we meet with Vance, do you just want to see if the cemetery is even practical, is still?
Look, I can, you know what I'll do, I'll just have him, put some numbers to it, and then he'll probably send, I think Peter's the guy's name, send him out with a presentation, and we'll just look at it. I think that's, that's the best thing to do.
Do you want a work session or the next?
I mean, I don't know how we do it, I mean, if that's.
Well, I think I'm like you, if the cemetery doesn't look to be feasible, then you just need to mark it off the list until you find some ground you want to buy to put it on. Because the only other place is the airport, and it's got its issues too.
I think it's got bigger issues.
I can't imagine the airport's length of transmission to wherever they're transmitting it to is any better than the high school.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Transmitting to the substation, which is right next down to the wastewater treatment plant. there.
And that's where it has to go to, is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's not bad.
Okay.
But like I said, it's got its issue too, called trees.
It only gets done about half the day, depending on where they are located.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not perfect either, so.
I think, if I'm remembering right, prior to COVID, we had Bob Warner do a study on the west side annexation, didn't we, as far
Yes.
as running sewage? We could possibly see if you could update that.
Is there sewage on the other side of 38 that everybody keeps talking about, that Fred House put in at some point?
There is, yeah, there is.
Okay, so there's a lift station
Correct.
out there, and is that functional?
Yes,
Is
it
that something
is.
that
Yes,
can
it
be tied
is.
into?
Yeah, we have one resident that's tied into it right now.
Okay, so it's functional, and if that was to be utilized, then that would benefit us?
It actually would benefit us, yeah.
I think even that it's about $250,000 to $300,000, depending on what you look at. Right, Chris, I'm pretty close to that.
Yeah, that was
It
the
was, it
number,
was in that area.
that was the number you threw out last time. How many residents are in that area? That's what we're looking at, was
So
ROI.
there's probably, what, 11 or 12
It's
there on
around a
Tidewater.
dozen, isn't it? Yeah.
And then on the other side of 38, if you wanted to tag those people into,
Yeah.
depending on what the capacity is, the lift station and all that kind of stuff. But maybe that's something we really need to go to a work session at some point in time, but we need to look at that and find out what we can come up with some sort of plan on that, because we're going to with some issues.
When
How
would
much-
you like to begin?
So,
Whenever.
Chris, we gotta annex so much property to do that. I mean, it's just not that street, you gotta have so much. So I know the Teeter property across from you, maybe your property. I mean, you just can't annex in a street. For every linear feet, you gotta have so much annexation. Remember that, Chris?
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
So he had two different maps drawn, how he can get that linear, and it's gotta all be attached, and you just can't skip over. So he had that drawn two different ways, how that would,
Is it 1/8 or 1/5? It's 1/8, isn't it?
I think it's 1/8.
Yeah, 1/8.
Yeah.
so, you know, it takes everybody to buy in because we just can't annex in a street. It's gonna have, so, we even looked at we even looked at annexing the park, if that gave us the footage, right?
Yeah.
I've got the report right here.
Do you have the map that shows that?
Yep.
So, there should be one in there that shows you, there's two annexation maps in there that shows you what you gotta do to get that.
Look like there was a total of about 18 residents.
Is that from,
That should have been from Bob.
Here's your beacon.
Yeah.
Turnpike and Tidewater probably.
And then
It probably wouldn't it be Turnpike and Tidewater? Yeah.
And here's
Okay.
another.
help you go across 38 too?
I think we might have. I can't remember. What's that?
So, yeah, here's, if we did,
There's the park,
yeah, here's the park, isn't it? Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so if we did just, it depends how much we do. If we just do this street, you can get by with this. If you come across the road, then you gotta have more, you've gotta have more linear to get that. So, that's what I'm saying, it's not, so you gotta have buy-in more than just that street. You gotta get, of course, this is pretty well vacant, and most of that is except you.
I think you're gonna see some improvement to that area right there. I was talking to the property owner, that you're gonna see some major improvement to that.
That's your place,
No,
right?
here,
No, but that's across the road. from
Right.
you. That's you here, right?
right here.
Right there. So, yeah, see, Grab's Park, is that you there too?
I'm part of that property in town already.
Yeah. So, that's one way, this another way, so,
Well, it's just stuff that keeps coming up with property owners out there in discussion, because I think there's gonna be some major improvements to that property across the road that's gonna benefit everybody. And there's septics and wells or not.
I think it should be done, but it's just, if we annex it, it's tough. If they come and say, listen, we want to be annexed.
Well, maybe there has to be an informational flyer or conversation with the property owners out there, and perhaps with a little conversation, we may get 51% of the people out there that may want to be annexed. So it doesn't have to be a larger battle. It just keeps coming up. That's the only reason I bring it
I
up.
agree with you.
So,
I know it's a problem.
Bob gave 5 options, by the way, on that. He gave 5 options with 5 different price tags, so.
Cheapest one's about $250, and
No, it was higher than that.
it is, what's the cheapest one?
545.
Was that for water and sewage, or was that just sewage?
That
Yeah.
was,
I think that's water and sewage, wasn't it?
I think it was, bear with me here.
Which I think we said once you dig up the street, you just supposed to lay both of them
Yeah.
down.
Might be what we said. No.
This was just sewer.
Oh,
This was just sewer, 545.
Hmm.
And then they have some other, you know, all the way through, but with several different options. So, and this is in 22. So
Well, he was doing all gravity flow, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I believe.
yeah, he was doing
well,
that.
some was gravity flow, but then some of them had
Yeah, there's,
grinder at each property, right, that they would be responsible for, I think.
so gravity here, which was then,
so if the property, help me out, I'm asking that. If we annex that property today, are we required to run sewer out there today?
We have a time period that we have to do it.
Time period.
5 years.
5 years you have to have it. So once
So
you
there's a
annex,
5-year plan to come up with the money to do that, then once it's annexed.
and mean,
We've been talking about that for well over 5 years.
well, that proposal there was when?
January of 22,
So,
Yeah, 22, so
year and a half.
we haven't.
well, it's been talked about longer than that.
Oh, yeah, I
We haven't
agree.
gotten a proposal.
Yes,
yet,
I
but
agree,
It's been
100%.
talked about longer than that.
This proposal is a year and a half.
So that's the only thing, I mean, it's, you know, if we annex it now, then it gives us 5 years to put a plan
And I
together.
don't really think the cost would be much more than that, because some things have come down in cost, actually.
All right, I'm done, sorry.
Get those maps. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The package together, but
So we have it.
Yeah, I have the right,
don't you keep everything.
I keep everything.
I keep it all. Okay. Our next meeting, our regular meeting will be Monday, August 7th, 2020 at 6:30. And has everyone had a chance to look at the claims?
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve claims as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, Mr.